This is what's left for us. So obviously we already had a class on Tuesday, so I'm just putting that as a week, but what's left for week 12 is today. This is our last class for your assignment 2, which means if you have any unanswered questions, problems, things that you're still struggling with, this is it. Today is the day to talk about them and make sure you understand what you're doing. Next week, we only have one class on Tuesday, which is optional as always. This will be our last scheduled chapter 10, Introduction to Simple Experiments. There are no quizzes left for you. Everything is done. I suggest you do come to this Tuesday class because that's the only time we will talk about experiments. And you'll need to know a little bit about that when you move to your lab courses soon enough after you are done with statistics. The first week of December, which is our week 14, will be dedicated entirely to talking about your PowerPoint presentation. And the reason why I'm not spending a lot of time on that is because if you have your assignment 2, you have the content for PowerPoint presentation. So the only thing that's left is sort of organizing it as a PowerPoint or slides in Google version of PowerPoint, or Key if you're using Mac, but you will have to make sure that it presents well. To help you with that, you instead of reading chapter 11, which is what I originally had on the schedule, I'm asking you to read an appendix from the textbook, and this is called Presenting Results, and it's pages 487 to 525, but it's actually not that many because a big part of that chapter is an actual example of a APA formatted paper. And I just have to remind you, right, that this book was published. So that's the paper. It's in that chapter. This book was published. When was it published? In 2015, which means it's 5 years old and it's not up to date in terms of APA style. It is up to date in terms of APA content, but little formatting issues may be a problem. So don't use these pages 487 through 525 as a sample. The sample is the actual paper, that's student paper that's posted on Blackboard. I'll talk about it in a second. December 3rd, your assignment 2 is due, and then we'll get to that next. And our final class is December 8th. It's a Tuesday, and where you will do your PowerPoint in a group. So the idea is that all 3 or 2, depending how many people there are, will take turns presenting the material. Again, it's APA content, APA style to the extent that it's amenable to a PowerPoint format. And again, we'll talk about it on the 1st and the 3rd. And 3rd, in fact, we will dedicate to you guys looking at your draft of PowerPoint presentation. So 10 minutes per group, which means we can do, say, 5 in 1 hour and another 5 on the next hour. Yeah, we'll be fine. So that's that. This is our assignment 2. Again, this is our last class on assignment 2, unless, of course, you have any burning issues between now and December 3rd. I obviously will be able to answer them. Don't forget that you need to read your research article and summarize it in the 2nd paragraph of the introduction. Your research articles are different. For some people, they are the same because your topics are the same, and that's, again, not a problem. So talking about this paragraph is a little inconvenient because everybody will have different research articles, but it has to be in the second paragraph of your introduction, which, remember, should have 3 paragraphs or more if you need more. Method we've already discussed. We started talking about statistical analysis, which consists of 2 things. It consists of your descriptive statistical analysis, and that's basically the figure from the chi-square Excel file. And now, again, I'm just reviewing the things. I'll show it to you again. So all you have to do is copy and paste it into your results. The second paragraph is non-parametric statistical analysis, which is a chi-square that we did last week. And I asked you to try to write that on Tuesday for those of you who are here. Finally, you would have to write a whole text between 1,500 words to 2,000 words, which is about 4 to 5 pages, using obviously the APA 7 style. Make sure that you have all the 8 required components of the APA formatted. They are in already, some of them already are in your group Google Docs, which is title page, abstract, introduction, method, results, with figure, discussion, and references. Okay, I also suggest that you run this text through the rubric that's posted for you. Be especially attentive when you're doing that. It's very easy to say, oh, it looks like my text is just what the rubric requires. You have to be cautious to make sure that it is indeed the case. Sometimes I receive a rubric that has all check marks, but it's not correct. So make sure that when you go through the rubric points, indeed you have them and you have the points and they are correctly presented and correctly formatted. To remind you that all your work, it shouldn't say lab 3, it should say assignment 2, all the group work should be done in your group Google Doc, because that's what will give us a way to make sure that everybody who was a member of the group contributed equally. So I'll show you a form and I'll post it on Blackboard, a form for group work evaluation. It will be for both assignments 1 and 2, except for people who have been working in one group and then in another group will have to do assignment 2 because that's the one that carries the most points. So once it is completed, you should download it from the Google Docs into either a Word for Windows and then convert it into PDF or whatever other program you're using. The deadline is December 3rd, but it's not 10 a.m. because that's from the previous class. This is, in your case, it's 4:30, just before the class starts. Then December 8th was the last class, and it's going to take me a few days to read that. Hopefully, I'll have your grades ready by 14th of December. Again, there are no final exams or anything, just the PowerPoint, but I will keep saying that you already have, once you have assignment 2, you already have whatever you need for PowerPoint. That's why we're not spending more than we have to. We're spending a lot of time on assignment 2. So before we do that, let's look again at the sample assignment 2, the one that received an A. Okay, where is it? No. All right, let's give me a second. I have to locate it. I thought I opened it. Okay, there it is. Let's see if I can share it with you. Good. Let's make it larger. So if you, which you should open your Google your Google group doc at this point, and let's have a look to make sure that your structure is what it is. Now remember, this is the minimum. You can have more things if you need to have them. So when I say 3 paragraphs, that means you cannot have 2, but it doesn't mean you cannot have 4 or 5. You want to, you can write more. A lot of that writing will be from the introduction or discussion. These are the things where you can add a lot of your own thinking. Method and results are by definition the shortest because they are like a template. That's what you have to do, the minimum information. But in the introduction, you have more flexibility what you can talk about. And the same with the discussion. So let me see. Tell me if you have access to your Google Doc right now so that we can look at all of that together. So let's see. Is Lisbeth with us? Okay, I don't see her. All right. Irina and Chidima, do you guys have your Google Doc open?
Yes.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Good. Now let's see. Thomas, Terence, and Lewis. Okay, I see Lewis. I see Thomas. Thomas and Lewis, do you guys have your Google Doc open? Yes, with a question mark, Lewis? Or yes? All right. Yes, I'm opening it right now. Good. Didi, Victoria, and Callista. Let's see who we have. Victoria. Okay, good. And Callista. So Victoria and Callista, do you guys have your Google Doc open? Okay, good. Next is Kim, Jenny, and Monica. See Kim. Good. And where is Jenny? See Monica. And there's Jenny. Okay, good. All 3 of you. Okay, good. Next is group number 6. That's Alma and Shalani. Alma and Shalani, do you have your Google Doc open? Uh-huh. Very good. Number 5 is Eileen, Milana, and Vanessa. See, Milana is here, Vanessa is here, and Eileen. Okay, Eileen is here too. Very good. All right. Irving, Romaine, and Joanna. Any of you guys with us? Okay, don't see anybody from this group. Jeremiah, Sajiro, and Stephanie. Okay, I see Sajiro and Stephanie, right? Do you guys know what happened to Jeremiah? Is he sick? You should talk to him. It's unusual that he's not with us. All right. Norma, Edgar, and Tara. I see Tara. Norma said that she will have to come in and leave and come back because of some work related. So I think you are the only one, Tara, right? He's logging on in a minute. Okay, thank you. Tara, you're on the Google Doc. Okay, good. And finally, Seaver, Jasmine, and Rita, do you guys have your Google Doc in front of you?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so let's have a look. So open up your title page. Make sure, obviously, I'm making it large. Yours, of course, will be a little smaller, but that's how your title page should look like, right? We have our title that's in boldface, your names in the alphabetical order of your last name. Your affiliation includes our department, and then the information regarding this course. This is the new stuff. This is what wasn't there in APA 6. And the only thing that you have in the header is the title, the page number, nothing else. Now, the abstract is probably the most difficult thing to write. So we're not even going to discuss it because unless you have your full text written, you cannot do the abstract correctly. But note that here we have your research article cited only once in the first sentence. Why is it wrong? Right. And note that there is a sentence that includes statistics. This is your statistics, not your research article. And you guys were right. The original restriction on abstracts was 120 words, and that's what it is. This is 117. Now, for the student papers, the APA 7 allows up to 250 words. So we will follow that. So you can go all the way up to 150 words. Let's go to the next page. So at this point, all you should have is page 2 with the heading abstract. Nothing else, because I assume you haven't written your abstract yet. Let's go to page 3. Note that the title is repeated. There's a nice little easy point that you should keep, so make sure that your title is here. Now note that the word or the heading introduction is optional. You can have it, but you don't have to have it. So this particular paper doesn't. But if you want to have introduction, right, you will have it as level 1. Okay, so now let's look at the first paragraph again. This is the general introduction to your topic. This does not have to be already about your exact idea, your research idea. So in this case, remember that the introduction is always written like an hour clock. You start at the broadest level and then you narrow it down. So in this particular paper, they are looking at whether holding a cell phone will interfere with people's potentially chivalrous behavior. I mean, chivalrous behavior, of course, often is used to describe how men help women, but in this case, it's more about helping behaviors, right? So this is what they're talking about in this first paragraph. And note that this first paragraph has no mention of cell phones because you're still at the very high level. When do people exhibit helping behavior? For people who are doing the mask wearing stuff, how do people comply with the requirements from authorities in general? Are we as a society more likely to follow the rules or say, no, this is my freedom, I do what I want? So if you were writing about wearing masks, you shouldn't be writing about wearing masks in the first paragraph because it's sort of very general. Now, of course, we're moving to the second paragraph, and here we have cell phone usage. And here's your transition sentence. They say that cell phone usage is distracting because they started talking about distraction in the first paragraph. So here is the sort of your transition from the first to the second. And in this paragraph, as you can see, they're discussing the research article by Perea and Ryson. Okay, and giving us just enough information to understand. And note, this is not about cell phones. This is about somebody who was a Confederate and who was wearing a leg brace and dropped something. See if people will help this person pick up the magazines. And obviously, what they looked at is whether a person who was targeted as a helper, right, participant in observation, was on cell phone or not. So that's the predictive variable. And this is what they found, right? They found that there was a huge effect whether the person was on the phone or not in terms of his or her helping behavior. So see, it's just one paragraph. That's all you need. And here is the third paragraph. This is the required minimum, is a paragraph that has to do with your research hypothesis, predictions. These come from your observation plan that you submitted some time ago. Note that they are saying that they are building on per year and Ryzen because they use this article. There was a different type of helping behavior, but it's connected, right? And they're using things like a Good Samaritan and so on. And here is the claim, right? Remember, you have to have a claim in your last paragraph of the introduction. We are interested in whether or not phone usage has any correlation with the likelihood that a person will hold the door for the person behind them. So they're looking at the effects of using cell phone on people's door holding behavior. Note another little APA thing that once you mentioned the research article for the first time, this is called the in-text citation with 2013. If you want to come back to them, which is what they're doing here, you are not repeating the year. You only use the year once per paragraph. If you have it in two paragraphs, like they have here, right? That's a separate paragraph. So they have the year here, and they have the year here, and that's it. So your introduction is about a page and a half, or it can be 2 pages if you have more to say in sort of the general. This is where you can let your creative juices run, because the first paragraph usually generates the interest, and so that people will read it. Of course, I will read it regardless of whether you will generate any interest, but it's much more fun to read something that's well written. All right, here comes our method, right? And we know that method has 3 subsections. So check your Google Doc and see if you have all of them. The danger here is try not to plagiarize. That is, use your own words, use the structure from this paper, but use your own words to describe your study. No? So note that they're saying, it's the very first sentence, they're saying they had 78 adult shoppers. Now, just like you, the requirement was 30, but it was easy enough for them to, I guess, observe these people in where were they? In different locations, Chipotle, 7-Eleven, an outdoor strip mall, right? So they did 3 different locations, and there were so many people going through that they did 78. They tell us that they were selected at random, right? If they were in a group, they were not considered. Yeah. Okay. They say that demographically it was a varied sample. They did not take any note of gender, race, or age because it wasn't a part of their design. But if you guys have this information, I think somebody told me that this particular group also noted the gender of participants. You can use that if you have it, but you don't need to if it's not a part of your predictive variable. Right? Note that they say that it was observational method of public behavior. That's important because we are not doing anything that is a survey or something that is not. Now, I think you appreciate at this point how difficult it is to conduct any kind of a real experiment. Well, that's not an experiment, any kind of empirical study. So, for those of you who were originally thinking about surveys, you would have been up to your ears in going through all of this. It's an enormously complex and time consuming process. That's why I asked you to do an observation because it's the easiest and simplest thing. Many of my colleagues ask students to do a thought study, that is, propose something and think how you would conduct it and then how you would analyze data. Um, I think that it's not really that great because it doesn't give you an idea what it means to actually get your feet wet in the real. So many of you are interested in psychology. So many of students are interested in going into master's programs, but that's what you'll have to do. Are you prepared for this? So you need to be able to test yourself and see if that's what you really want to do. Okay, design and materials, right? Here we have, you have to have these words in your text. We have a predictive variable, right? And there are two levels. And the levels, so keep checking your text. Do you see if you have any of this information? Using a cell phone or not using a cell phone. Remember, our variables are categorical, which means we have names for levels, and it's both for predictor variable and for the response variable. Here they're giving us an operational definition. What do they mean by cell phone use? You're either talking on the phone, you're looking at the screen and maybe typing. Okay. Now, they did not take into account people who were just holding the phone in their hand because that wasn't being engaged with the phone. So here's a whole paragraph on the predictor variable. The next one is the response variable, right? What was it? So now they say it was door holding behavior. So do you guys have the response variable in your text right now? And now they're giving us um, some thinking of how they did that. So again, going back to some of your wearing masks observations, you have to say that it's not just wearing masks, but it's wearing mask correctly. And you have to describe what do you mean by being correctly. So they also told us that they're telling us we did not use doorways with an automatic open option because then you're not holding the door to anybody. Multiple thresholds, right? So this is all a description of something that would have been an operational definition of their response variable. For some of your response variables, the operational definition is easy. For others, you need a little bit of text like that. So keep looking. Make sure that you have that stuff in your text. The final paragraph here is they they talk about a contingency table, right? It's a 2 by 2 because the predictive variable has two levels and the response variable has two levels. Um, they tell us that they did the observations on Thursday and Sunday. That probably should have been in the procedure, but that's okay. Here they're saying that both of our grouping, remember grouping is the same as predictor and behavior is the same as response. So they're sort of switching a little bit between the terminology, but again, these are all synonyms. So they're saying that both variables were categorical and they use nominal scale to measure them. That's because remember, if we have a predictive variable that's categorical and a response variable that's categorical, we can only analyze such data using a non-parametric chi-square test of two types. It's either uh, goodness of fit if only you have one variable, like frequency claim, or you're using test of independence if you have two variables, which is your case, association claim. Moving on, make sure you have procedure, right? Here, remember, procedure differs from design and materials because procedure are just the physical steps of how you conducted that. Let's assume that you were uh, teaching some other group of students how to replicate your study. You will say, okay, well, you will have to go to these locations, for example, and they're telling us that these were at near Highland Plaza, right, on Staten Island. But then they also decided to do outdoor strip mall. This is also the place where you could mention your pilot study. Remember, pilot is sort of a preliminary observation, the one that allows you to make sure that your variables are what they should be. And they tell us exactly how it happened, what taken on different days, right? The first observer performed their observations on Thursday, the second on Sunday, and so on. I think these were two students. That's why they're talking about the first and the second. If you have three, obviously you have more than that. Data, data is always plural, collected over 3 second intervals. That is, they literally observed the person for 3 seconds. If nothing happened, no door holding, they would move on to the next participant. A few little things that one could clean up, like chi-square, right, for example. So make sure you have all these components. They will be yours because your study was different from theirs. Now come the results, right? So the results basically have two things. They have the descriptive statistics, which is in your case really just the figure that was created for you with your data in the Excel template for chi-square. So what are they doing? They're saying we're using 2x2 contingency table. We observed that of those using a cell phone, only a third held the door. So you can now take your numbers and convert them into percentages, for example, and write that in the text. And the reason why it's a good thing to do is because APA does not allow, well, does not allow it. It's not the right thing to do, to repeat the same information in the figure and in the text. So if you look at the figure, right, the figure is in frequencies. That is, how many people who were using the phone held the door? Well, it looks like 8 or 7. How many people who did not use the phone, did not hold the door? Well, that's, what was that, 14? Okay, so these are raw numbers and they're kind of hard to compare. That's why converting them into percentages gives us a very nice understanding of the results. So a third people held the door if they were on the phone, while whopping 83% did that when they were not on the phone. Okay, so they say these results are consistent with our expectation, no relationship between cell phone use and helping behavior. And note that they refer to figure 1, which is important. You have to send your reader to the figure. They don't know that the figure is there. Okay, so that's the descriptive statistics. Note that your figure has APA formatting caption, and that's formatted like this: figure 1 boldface, and then the title in italics. So here, all I suggest you should do is, that's not a plagiarism, that's fine. Take this title and replace the predictive variable and the response variable with your predictive variable and your response variable. On the figure, your y-axis is going to be the same number of participants. That number might be different because remember these people did 78 and many of you did 30. So your upper limit is going to be not 50 but something else. And your uh, response variable is on the x-axis, right, with 4 columns. No color because it's not allowed. And note that the figure does not have a border because it is not AP style. Well, final little paragraph, as you can see, so keep looking at your stuff, is our non-parametric statistics. We conducted a chi-square test of independence to investigate the relationship between the predictor variable and the response variable. We found that there was a statistically significant relationship. Here comes our chi-square statement. Of course, your numbers will be your numbers. And you can only say that this is significant if your p-value, the way it was calculated by Excel, is less than 0.05. So half of you did not get significant results. So you'll be talking about not having a relationship between your predictor variable and your response variable. Okay? So if that were the case, they would say our data suggests that regardless of using the phone, people tend to help, or regardless of using the phone, people don't help. Okay, so you will say that there is no relationship between the two variables. So as you can see, this paragraph is what, 6 lines. Finally, let's move on to the discussion. Uh, so here in the first paragraph, you need to come back to the third paragraph of the introduction. What did you predict? What was your research hypothesis? Did you replicate conceptually the research article? Here they give us a little bit of nice language. They say this informs us of 2 important things. The types of helping behavior inhibited are not limited to one type. So not just picking up the magazines for somebody who cannot do it, but also holding the door. All right. So they repeat the hypothesis and they say that the hypothesis was confirmed. For those of you who did not get the significant results, you will say that your hypothesis was not confirmed. Now, if it is confirmed, going one way, you have a chance to talk about extensions and future work. So here they say, all limitations. They say one of the limitations as we did not take into account subgroups. So perhaps men are more likely to hold the door because it's expected of them than women, but they didn't do that. So they say that is chivalry, the gender-specific coding of courteous behaviors might have been a factor, right? Another limitation, they say, the size of the sample group, that's the least interesting stuff, and perhaps the relatively limited geographical distance between the points of observation. Would people behave differently in Ohio than in New York City, in Spain, in Russia? Okay, these questions, right? So your discussion is 1 page, 2 paragraphs, it could be more if you have more stuff to say. Especially important for those of you who did not get statistically significant results. And don't try not to say it is because of the sample size. It could be, but it's not an interesting explanation. Try to think of something else. Maybe your hypothesis to begin with wasn't the best one. Finally, we have the references page, right? So check your references page. Make sure that your research article, if you have minimum is 1, but you may have 2 if you found something else that was useful. This is how it is formatted with the title of the article followed by journal's title and volume in italics, followed by pages without PP abbreviation and the required piece of digital object identifier. And this is it. So title page -1, reference page -1, you have 7 pages. And this page is half of that is as a figure. So really it's about 6 pages of text. Okay, so let me ask you now, close this, what you guys would like to do. Would you like to go into a breakout room with the rest of your group and continue working? Show me something. Do we want to stay together as a group and you will share some paragraphs with us? Because I'm flexible. I would like to do what will be helpful for you because this is our last.
I wanna
Go
I
ahead,
wanna
Jess.
go into breakout. I don't know about everybody else. Can we do that judge thingy? That pick one with the yes or no?
Oh, okay, sure. All right, let's go to participants, right? And it has, remember, it has the toolbar. So, um, should we do it by groups or individually? Let's try individually. So if you would like to go into a breakout room with your group mates, click yes. If you think that you would prefer to continue doing something as a group, then click no.
As we're voting, Professor, can I also ask a
Sure, absolutely. Yes.
um, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused in what our lab 3 means.
Sorry.
I'm kind of embarrassed.
No, Seaver. Unfortunately, it's my problem because I just copied the slide from a previous class. It should say assignment 2.
Got it. Thank you.
It's me.
Thank you very much.
Me not
No
catching it.
problem.
Sometimes things happen. No,
Okay,
no, no.
okay,
No,
great.
no lab 3. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So people
All
prefer ultimately to go, yes, Jasmine, to go to a breakout.
all three of us were so confused, and we
I'm
were just
sorry,
not
guys.
knowing who
I
to ask.
I think I actually mentioned that when I saw that lab 3, I said, oh no, don't pay attention to that. But let me do it again. The slide said lab 3 because I copied it from a previous class and I forgot to change it. They have the same deadline as you
Perfect.
guys. Okay, good.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I see I need to talk to one student. So you'll stay with me. Everybody else will go into breakout rooms and I will start with group 3. When you guys are, so as soon as I talk to that student, I will visit group 3. And then all other groups, please see how much you can do. And as soon as you have something where you don't understand or you need my opinion, raise your hand so I can join your group and see where you need help. So, okay, give me a minute. I'm going to create 12. Oops. Actually, Elizabeth is not with us. All right. And I will be assigning you to your rooms and you, as soon as I will open them right now. Okay, group 1, receiver, group 1, reader. Okay, see reader. I use reader group. Okay, Tara, so you're gonna be by yourself, but hopefully Norma will join you soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll go to group 2. All right, group 3, Jeremiah. Are you okay, Jeremiah? All right, group 3. And the last person is Stephanie. Stephanie. Okay, group 3. 4. I don't have any of them. Group 5. Let's see. Eileen, group 5. Alana, 5, and Vanessa, 5. Excellent. Group 7 is Kim, Jenny, and Monica. There's Monica. Group 8 is Victoria. 8, Victoria. And Callista, right? 8, Callista. Right. Group 9 is Louis and Thomas. 9. Group 11. Alma should go to group 6. Sorry. Alma, group 6. Chidima, group 11. And Irina, group 11. Okay.